For my final product, extensive research was performed to determine the conventions of real media text, involving the use of genre such as psychological thrillers, horrors, crime, and action. My personal favourites and inspiring media texts were from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Sicario, Shutter Island, and the others, as well as short films such as Desserts, Passing, The Moonlight Man, Hallucination, and Faith. From this research, I established specific conventions embedded within such media texts, and therefore these elements were highlighted so I could later use them to perfect my short film and its conventions. Moreover, occurring themes were the use of non-diegetic sounds, which were classic in horror. Non-diegetic sounds included monotone drones and minor keys, as shown within The Moonlight Man, I Heard It Too, and Desserts. Therefore, I created my own soundtrack to develop the forms and conventions of stereotypical music. As theorized by the works of Mulvey, Clover, Tushman, and Gauntlet, expectations of women within a horror or thriller media text are often seen victimized, innocent, and the cliché damsel in distress. Conventions of such stock characters were perceived through short films such as The Moonlight Man, where the female is victimized, Passing, where women are seen with stereotypical characteristics of love and the mise-en-scene of a flower shop and the colour pink, and Don't Look Now, with the female character being seen victimized again and applying makeup, boosting these media stereotypes. With my new psychological thriller Hidden, the female is shown in a different and more modern perception and challenges the usual conventions of existing media text. Here we see Officer Crabwell, a female protagonist with a high police ranking. She is also seen with the capability to use a firearm, which is a prop consistently symbolic for violence, power, and danger. Therefore, it truly breaks through this stereotypical convention of female stock characters. However, as the plot unravels and we discover Sarah has actually been murdered, she is therefore once again victimized, which associates and develops existing conventions, paying homage to classics and traditional horror and thriller texts, in concoction with appealing to the modern cinema goers. Symbolism can be found repetitively throughout media text, such as a grave, which is symbolic of a past loved one in this short film. Symbolism can be found repetitively throughout the short film Hidden. The telephone is symbolic for the representation and foreshadowing of someone being on the other side, so Sarah being on the other side of death. But more importantly, a use of convention would be the choice of red or blood that has been incorporated through all three media texts. Red or blood is a common convention in genres of thriller and horror, in which Hidden indulges in many symbolic moments using red or blood. For example, the lipstick, the red background, the writing on the mirror, the reds tinted on the white flowers, representing Sarah's innocent life coming to an abrupt and negative end with the overdose of drugs and murderer lurking in the shadows, and of course the projection of blood. This use of convention was used to indicate danger and has been developed from real media products who also use such choices. This element was then used to portray the film poster and film review. For the film poster, we see a red drop shadowed underneath the title, conveying that this short includes danger and murder, and again with the film review that is written in red to further emulate this dangerous subliminal tone to the production. And finally, the use of a red filter that rejects the antagonist in a symbolic form of danger until it is too late and Sarah Cradwell has been murdered. Another occurring theme in convention would be the build and development of stock characters. As shown within the second media text, the film poster, the antagonist can be seen with his back turned and with a lower level of opacity, thus conveying enigma and an unnerving presence towards the male character. In the short film Faith, here we see the antagonist, a muscular, bald man who is also wearing black. This choice of colour for costume can also be symbolic for enigma. Furthermore, this convention of stock characters, as theorized by Vladimir Prop in real media text, often portrays the antagonist as powerful, able to strike fear into the audience, and even bald. Therefore, a casting process took place to find the best suited performer for the role to develop a convention. The reason for developing and using a stereotypical convention towards antagonists was so the audience could quickly establish and orientate themselves to who is the murderer. This was important as the character development can become challenging in the time restriction of a short film. Enigma was definitely a key ingredient to the production of Hidden, with its psychological twists and turns. The reason for doing so was due to this becoming a common convention to many of the greatest real media text. So, the murderer antagonist is seen disguised in shadows, with prosemics of the character being positioned in the cliché under the bed, and develop the use of shadows. Not only to allow my piece to be more creative and cinematographic, but also to build this sense of enigma and develop stereotypical fears expected from the audience. One being the cliché monster under the bed that emerged from media productions and has been striking fear into the audience ever since. I thought this was a good convention to use as it harnesses and familiarises the film with fear in the perspective of the audience. The use of shadows were also key for the under the bed scene, as the antagonist could be hidden amongst the shadows, meaning the short could build on suspense to an eventual jump scare. Again, we see such a convention within The Moonlight Man, as the female character looks towards the shadows where the reveal of the antagonist waits. And jump scares are also another most definite convention expected in thriller and horror, and so it was effective to position a couple within the movie, maintaining that edge-of-the-seat viewing for the audience. I was originally inspired to use this convention through the mortifying and powerful jump scare as shown within Desserts. Building of tension was not only key to a successful jump scare, but it is also a common convention in real media texts. And so, building of tension was included and developed in Hidden to promote a tense, psychologically thrilling performance. From this, I was able to become postmodern and find uniqueness to build my own tension and suspense.
Hi Sarah, it's your neighbour here.
Hi Sarah. Hi Sarah.
Have you seen the man?
Hidden also acquired a unique postmodern and creative tone by viewing such conventions from all-time greats such as Psycho. I could modify existing media texts and develop them into such a piece, for example, the knife murder flashback. From the viewing of this movie, I used similar scenes which threw off the audience, plot twists to disguise the fate of Cradwell, but also flashbacks or past event scenes shown in reality to help orientate the narrative for the audience and to build understanding of what truly happened in Hidden. This use of convention thus provided with the short a further postmodern style, as simulation is referred to, which means the blurring of fantasy and reality. Here we see Hidden entertain the audience with moments of untruthful reality or fantasy through the use of drug-induced scenes and actual reality, yet the two are closely blurred together. Such conventions of plot twists and flashbacks can be found in Mannequin and Hallucination, which is why I then was inspired to indulge in my own use of unique conventions, thus allowing my film to be more creative. This idea and convention of false reality, which can be seen and developed in my own short film, is romanticized in other psychological thrillers, such as A Cure for Wellness. Therefore, it was important to include to familiarize the audience with the purpose, characteristics, and traits of Hidden. All these conventions were used, developed, or even challenged to create a postmodern, but most importantly, unique final outcome. Finally, another convention which can be found throughout nearly every short film I have viewed is the theme of ambiguity, meaning the short film conveys an unclear synopsis, leaving the audience guessing, questioning, or concluding. In order to create such a sense of ambiguity, these short films and real media texts would include features such as plot twists or cliffhangers. Therefore, Hidden provides the audience an appeal to pluralism with the ambiguous plot twists that take thought from the audience to process, and a final cliffhanger ending, leaving the audience open to interpretation and perception of what happens next to the ghostly Officer Cradwell. For my main product, it highlights key areas such as social realism of negative aspects in society, such as drug overdose, murder and death, postmodernism, psychological thriller elements, enigma, and the power of symbolism. The combination of my main products with ancillary text were able to protect these listed elements harmoniously, as well as serve for the different purposes, such as a film review to critique and captivate, a poster to intrigue, and film to entertain. My first ancillary text, being the film poster, included a specific choice of editing and photos, for example, the kitchen knife, which can be found through all texts, and combining the three with such a prop. This choice of a kitchen knife is also a key indicator of what the short film revolves around, murder, as well as becoming postmodern, like the final product, as this prop can be recognised in many texts, such as American Psycho and Psycho, establishing the film as a psychotic and thrilling watch through the power of a single imagery that is symbolic. This was effective as this gives a greater indicator and hint to what the film projects, meaning there was a successful connection between the ancillary and main product. I included Web 2.0 mind mapping skills and hand-drawn sketchings to additionally build around the knife within all texts. The original problem was the ancillary texts were becoming too complex and overlapping, giving the identity of the product a colloquial sense. The poster and film review looked too busy. Research was pivotal here, as I discovered the texts in real media forms mostly or only showed leading actors to the film in the poster, meaning Yasmin, playing Sarah, was included. The combination of the products were effectively met, as the first ancillary text shows a leading performer, the character that will be the main protagonist of our short film Hidden. Moreover, I thought it was essential to use symmetry and the media triangle, which led to titles being the point of drawing the audience eye. For example, here we see the antagonist in a triangle position stance, which leads to the manipulation and focus towards the title, which has also been enlarged against rival text, as the poster is key and used to promote the gist and title of such a production. Also, with symmetry of the text shown, it drew the audience eye to the slogan, "Murder, but whose is it?" An intriguing choice of lexis, leading to the appeal of viewing the performance, thus establishing an effective combination of the two texts. Finally, for the first ancillary text, the use of a bad TV filter can encourage the postmodern sense expected within the short film. This suggests the reflection and projection of a screen. This can also be found in films such as Pulp Fiction and The Big Short, who also refer to the audience positioning and screening, meaning the ancillary text justifies a postmodern presence within the main product. For the second ancillary text, being the film review, it was important to continue the projection of the main product and give an insight to Hidden. Therefore, the film review was a relative of the film poster, both consisting of occurring aspects and showcasing what's to come within the main product. For the structure of the film review, again we see the occurring kitchen knife, further implanting the expectancy of all the products encapsulating a psychological thriller, to reflect a crime element expected within the movie. Photos taken from the film review are seen scattered, in which I hope to replicate a police file, giving an insight into who the character Sarah Cradwell is and the events of crime in the main product that will take place. Images are also seen with transparency levels, giving a ghostly presence to Sarah Cradwell, thus foreshadowing the later events of the main product, as Cradwell becomes a ghost trapped in a purgatorial realm, without testifying openly to the audience members who have not seen the short yet. as well as including images such as the light switch, once again an important moment to remember as an audience member, as this leads to the hamasha of the female protagonist. Through involving this in the review, audiences are aware to look out for this shot, but still have no clue as to why, encouraging the presence of enigma within the audience, in which enigma is of vital involvement to the main product. Therefore, both ancillary texts are intertwined with one another to give an insight, a promotional ability, and key areas to focus on to help understand the unveil of the main product, meaning effective combination of all three texts were completed.